So tomorrow is the Epiphany of our Lord. Tonight is the eve of the Epiphany. It's a kind of an exciting day because Epiphany is a fixed feast. That's always on January 6th. And so we don't often get to celebrate it in an actual time of worship during the weekend. We usually have to have a separate service, which is not always quite as well attended as I would like. We celebrate on Epiphany a really important thing, though. The coming of the Magi from the east, we think, to worship Jesus. Sometimes we call them kings, like the opening hymn tonight. Sometimes astrologers, sometimes wise men. I just use the Greek transliteration magi, because we honestly don't really know who they were or what they were. We know just a little bit about them. They had a lot of money, because they had to come from quite some distance, and they got there traveling by caravan. Apparently there were no 7-Elevens out in the middle of the desert, so you carried everything you needed for the journey with you on your camels. And we know that it must have taken them some time to get there to worship Jesus, because it starts out calling them a baby, but by the time they get there, it's calling them a child. And we know that they had amazing gifts that were rare and precious. We don't know how many. The hymn, again, numbers them for us, but we don't really know how many gifts that there were. We know that there are 3 that are named: gold and frankincense and myrrh. But most importantly of anything that we know about these people who came to worship Jesus is that they were Gentiles. Just like us. Gentiles, that's the word that was used to refer to everybody else. Everybody who was not of the family of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. In Leviticus, God gives his people very strict rules to obey. And the point of that was to set them apart from everybody else, from the rest of the world. These people who were followers of Yahweh, the children of Abraham, who were to deliver Jesus, the Messiah, to undo the curse of Adam and Eve that had been placed on the world. These were God's people, and everybody else was just called the nations. That's Gentile, that's what it means, the nations. They were the ones to whom the Messiah would be delivered by the people. In Genesis, God promised that he would send a son through Eve who would crush the head of Satan. Now, Satan would have his time on this earth. There's no doubt about that. We've all seen it. But eventually, one would be born of humanity who would save all of humanity and return us all to what God had intended in the Garden of Eden. Imagine what torture this was for Satan. Remember, please, that he is no more omniscient than you or I are. Only God can see the future. Now, Satan likes to pretend that he can see the future, and he uses hucksters and liars to get money out of rubes who believe that he can tell the future. So go home and throw away your 1-800 psychic numbers that you wrote down last night when you were watching late night TV. No one can tell the future. God is very clear about that. And he's also clear that any attempt to see the future is a direct affront against him. So, knowing that Satan has no idea when this Messiah will come, imagine the torture that was Satan's. From that very moment in the Garden of Eden until the birth of Christ, every time one of God's people had a baby boy, he had to wonder and be fearful of, this might be the one. He even tried twice to save himself by destroying all of the male children, once with Pharaoh and once with King Herod. God, of course, delivered Moses from Pharaoh so that Moses would eventually lead all of God's people out of Egypt and into the promised land where the Messiah would be delivered. And then, of course, God used Joseph to take the Messiah back to Egypt, where he would be safe until Herod was dead. As we know here, Satan was foiled. The baby born to Mary and Joseph grew up to complete the work that the Father had sent him to do. He paid for all of the sin that was required, all of that sin that had banned us from the garden. And now you and I simply await his return when he takes us back into the garden and we receive our inheritance. Like the star rose over Bethlehem for the Magi to follow to find Christ, in our epistle for today, St. Paul rises over the Gentiles and proclaims to us the truth of our salvation. St. Paul says in that epistle, "To me, though I am the very least of all the saints, this grace was given, to preach to the Gentiles the unsearchable riches of Christ, and to bring to light for everyone what is the plan of the mystery hidden for the ages in God who created all things, so that through the church the manifold wisdom of God might now be made known to the rulers and authorities in the heavenly places." Through baptism, Jesus has been made known to us. And now you and I are just like the Magi. We live in a foreign land. But we know who we worship. And we know where we are going. And now we, like St. Paul, have a job to do. The Holy Spirit created faith in our hearts, gave us the hand to grasp the gift of grace. And now we proclaim that mystery to everyone we can find, starting with our family and our neighbors and our friends and branching out from there. And if we can't go off to foreign lands with our expeditions like the Magi did, then we write checks to missionaries who do. As the star rose over Bethlehem and as St. Paul rose over the Gentiles, now we rise over all who are lost, all who are distant from God. When you go by the sanctuary, the main sanctuary, you'll see that there's a new addition in our sanctuary this year. We have an Epiphany star hanging in the front of the sanctuary. It's going to hang there all during the Epiphany season to remind us that Christ still shines in this world. Christ Jesus came to us, and the grace has been given to us to proclaim those unsearchable riches of Christ to everyone. You and I are the modern day Magi. We generally focus, on the Magi coming to Jesus with gifts. But what we don't talk about very much, because we honestly don't know, is what they did when they left. They brought gifts to Jesus, even as we bring our gifts each week to Jesus. Our gifts of money, our gifts of time, our gifts of worship. But they, like us, took away way more than they brought. They were given the gift of faith and grace. And you can bet they proclaimed that gift to everyone who would listen on the way home. We don't know a lot about what happened when they left. We do know that historically the church has always recognized the Magi as great evangelists who left that little town of Bethlehem and told everyone about the King. Today, you and I are the Magi. We're Gentiles. We, like they, were adopted into God's family and given the gift of salvation. Not because of anything in us. Not because of inheritance laws or wills of human beings. Simply by the grace of God. We were outsiders, made insiders through holy baptism. And even today, tomorrow we'll do it at both services. We bring our children to the font. They are worth infinitely more than gold or incense or myrrh. Our children are the rarest and costliest treasures. And we offer these, our living gifts, to God. And He fills them with the Holy Spirit. And He dwells in them, and they are made His holy children, and they begin their eternal life along with us. He quite literally makes them stars, doesn't He? He makes them epiphany stars that rise in this world to draw those who are lost in the darkness into His glorious light. When you sit in that sanctuary, and you walk by it during the Epiphany season, behold that star. And remember that God too has made you stars. God's light shines through you into this darkened world.